So good to see you all. My name is Marc Bernstein. I'm the founder and a CEO at Balto, and we have a really awesome presentation for you all today. We're going to release Balto's newest product, QA Copilot. And this is a revolution in Balto's QA capabilities, and also, we think, a revolution in what AI is now available to the contact center space. You all are going to hear, to start, like Balto's philosophy around why did we build this product and how do we see it fitting into all the different AI tool possibilities that you have. We're going to start with like the AI space and all the different tools that are out there, and why is Balto focusing today on revolutionizing QA. Well, you can kind of break it down, break all of your options down into stuff that's front office versus back office, meaning very customer facing versus not so customer facing, and then autonomous versus hybrid. Autonomous meaning it does the whole job by itself. Hybrid meaning it serves up some information to a person who then needs to take that information and go do something with it. So this is kind of your AI landscape. And what are the tools and the sort of technologies available today? Well, with front office and hybrid, you might have something like an agent assist. And this is where Balto began. Our company, our product offering, our vision is figuring out if we can analyze conversations in real time and give recommendations to agents right in the moment that they needed it to help them be more compliant, help them sell more, help them have answers right at their fingertips. They don't go and need to search through a knowledge base. That's how we started. So then in terms of hybrid, what's available in back office? Well, Balto has invented, we actually released this about 2 years ago, our real-time QA product we call RTQ. And that allows you for very simple things like verbatim compliance statements or very clear scenarios to be able to score your calls. And it surfaces exceptions up to your QA team. There's a reason that the world started with hybrid, and that is, do we want to let the AI loose into like autonomous AI out in the world before we've had the chance to kind of modulate its feedback and check it and have a human in the loop? The answer typically is no. So let's look at AI autonomous for front office. I'm sure folks may have seen both of these two stories. Maybe you haven't, but there's two stories now that these LLM chatbots, pure LLMs, are out there in the world. And there's this awesome kind of fun experiment that Chris Bakke did where he got the AI to respond to anything he said with, and that's a binding legal offer, no takesies backsies. So he said, can I buy a Chevy Tahoe for $1? And it replied, that's a binding offer, no takesies backsies. Do you want to let the AI in the wild talking to your customers? Is that the best starting place? And I might say there's hybrid solutions, they're better starting places, and potentially a back office autonomous option. So if you're going to have AI doing the full job, you probably want to do the full job behind the curtains, not directly with your customers, because the risk of that causing like viral harm to your company is much lower. And by the way, these autonomous front office solutions are still at the point where people like to mess with them. It's still fun to play with these. When you get to the back office, now, for the first time, this autonomous AI is able to complete very specific tasks, but complete those tasks very, very well. And without you having the exposure of having the AI go rogue with your customers. So as a just basic algorithm, if you're trying to figure out the AI landscape and you say, where do we start investing? You're pretty safe to start investing in a hybrid solution, either in the front office or the back office, because a person is checking the work before it goes out in the world. Have caution investing in a back office autonomous solution, because those are just getting good enough where they're able to actually do the job you want it to. And we're excited to show you today an AI that actually passes the autonomous bar. And then your front office autonomous solutions, I would recommend that folks probably get a lot of experience in the other areas before you do a front office autonomous solution. So this is the landscape, and this is the philosophy that we have brought to bringing Balto QA Copilot to the world. This is gross. This is a moldy donut, And I'm actually bringing this to you guys from an analogy that Andy Grove gave when he talked about the importance of inspection. And he uses the example of a donut factory and said, imagine that you're in charge of a donut factory. And let's make it a physical product. Imagine you're in charge of it. Can you imagine your donuts coming off the assembly line and nobody ever looking at them, nobody ever tasting them to make sure that they're great, just like poof, gone out in the world? Of course not. But that's what we do in so many of our business processes and so many of the things that we do today in business. We have our product, we ship it out in the world, and then who knows if it's good and if it's not. So on one hand, the whole fundamental purpose of QA is to help us stop these moldy donuts from getting out in the world. But there's another purpose to QA as well, and that is to refine the machine. Because if you're able to measure what percentage of my donuts are good this week versus last week, which donut operators are the ones who are successfully making the highest quality donuts? Do I have differences? Is there some ingredient that appears like it's not going well? These are the sort of ways you can measure the machine. So these are the two most powerful things you can do with QA. You can spot problems and you can measure the machine. So let's talk about catching problems, because these are two very different functions. They're related, they're integral to QA, but they're not the same thing. So let's talk about catching problems. An example of the sort of problems you'd want to catch would be non-compliance or customer risk. So what are you doing in this type of QA? You're curating exceptions. You're saying, show me a list of all my non-compliant calls where the agent didn't do what they wanted. So example might be looking at every sale, if you're a sales organization, and making sure that every sale was done in the proper way and every sale is compliant. The right tool for this, for catching problems, for curating lists of exceptions, is traditional speech analytics, right? You can say, show me all my calls that resulted in a sale where the representative did not give this disclosure. Great, there's your list. And that allows you to go through and make sure that you're catching all the individual problems. So please score them. Scoring them is great. You can absolutely measure them. That'll help you in a lot of ways. But is that really what you're going for here? No, you're going to catch problems and curate lists of exceptions. When it comes to measuring the machine, what are the things we're trying to measure? We're trying to measure the inputs, and you're trying to measure how agents handle those inputs. And you're trying to score and measure how effective is the process that the agents are enacting. So if the input is the customer has a billing issue, you then want the agent to handle a billing issue in a certain way. And the way that they're handling it is hopefully the process that you've set out. So this is, if you want to measure the machine, this is where scoring calls is the most powerful tool. So an example would be ranking agent performance, being able to measure how well agents are performing. And your correct tool for this is going to be Gen AI call scoring. Why Gen AI call scoring? The reason is that only now, like it really became available in 2023, only now is AI able to catch context, the whole conversation. So with that, we're introducing Balto QA Copilot. That is our new innovation to the contact center world and the QA world. And today it scores 2.5 times as many calls as you could reasonably expect a human grader to do, at half of the cost of what you would reasonably expect an all-in cost for human grader to be. And here is the kicker. We have been refining our models for the last now 7 or 8 months, and we have scored manually 20,000 calls ourselves. The Balto team has scored 20,000 calls and said, how do our human graders compare to the AI grader? The AI grader was 2 points more accurate than our human graders at the end of these 20,000 calls. So it is a crazy world where it's doing more calls, less cost, and for the first time in history, greater accuracy. Balto's mission as a company is to power a new era of knowledge work in the contact center. We saw, like just when we got started around 7 years ago, that the contact center was viewed by the rest of the world as this old, backwards, dusty place where, you just gotta work in the contact center, or you just, you gotta call them because you have to. And over the last 7 years, we have seen incredible innovation in the contact center. And it's funny because if you look at the New York Times or the Economist and you look at an article about how AI is being used intelligently, you know what? A good portion of those times, those examples are in the contact center. This is new. We haven't had this before. Jobs that we do today will change. There will be new jobs created. AI will create new jobs where people are, managing like prompt engineering and making sure that the bots are effectively operating out in the world and looking for the patterns and the exceptions and making decisions based on what they learn with these bots. But the jobs that we have today are going to come under pressure, are going to change, and this is an economic reality. So we recognize that, and we want to be part of the force of good that puts good jobs out there in the world and elevates the people of the contact center space while making businesses 5 to 10 times more efficient over this next decade. So I think what we'll all see at the end of this journey is more opportunity than we've ever seen created by AI, more amazing products and services, better quality products and services, and decreased costs for everybody.
I want to acknowledge how skeptical I was, specifically about generative AI for QA. If I'm being honest, my first opinion was that this was going to be an interesting technology, and we'd put the product on the shelf. We created a team at Balto that we called the Audit Squad in November. We used an early version of QA Copilot, and we compared the results of 20,000 calls, just like Marc said. QA Copilot is more consistent, less biased. Its eyes don't get tired after they've scored 25 calls and are looking at spreadsheets. And it's better at QA than I am, by a bit. I'm here to tell you it's real, and as a skeptic, I'm impressed. Our goal of this product is to help you increase your scores. We want you to measure, very focused on accuracy, but we want to be your partner to improve your call center.